Welcome to my heavy metal kitchen. This episode is Kiss at 50, and I'm pleased to be speaking with Martin Popoff, rock music journalist. Welcome.
Yes, thank you, Nina. Look forward to this.
I'm really enjoying your book here, Kiss
Okay.
at 50.
Copy here too.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, very cool. One of my subscribers reached out and said, you should really get this book, and mention your name. And you know a lot about music, that's for sure.
I've been a crazy fan since probably 1972 when I was 9 years old. So yeah, and then ramping up, I'd say by 1976 when I was 13, we were all, and really your only source for information back then was Cream and Hit Parader and Circus. So we were all over that. And then, yeah,
Right.
we were nutty fans by then. But with Kiss, I actually started, it's the one band I remember that I actually started with their new release. So in 74, I remember getting Kiss as a new release. So it's the one band that in my filmy memory of those days that I remember being with ever since the beginning.
All right. Well, I have a question for you. I start this for all guests. What's your favorite Kiss song?
Wow, Kiss song. I've actually never really thought about that, but I may have to go, the one that pops into my head immediately. Yeah. It's almost like a boring choice. Should I go with that? Well, sure. What the heck? Detroit Rock City. Pete Pardo and I go on his Sea of Tranquility channel every Friday morning. And we just did an episode called, Does This Band Have a Stairway to Heaven? And I remember, like, it's the only Kiss song that I can imagine being like their Stairway to Heaven because it's so ambitious. There's like ear candy going on in different parts and all this stuff. First track on their one of the albums that people generally come up with as the best Kiss album, Destroyer. So I remember getting that as a new release and putting the headphones on and listening to that, the spookiness of the car crash and all that kind of thing. So yeah, Detroit Rock City.
Yes. Like when I think of you, I think of Black Sabbath and Rush and, heavier, more traditional metal bands. Yeah. So I was really surprised you were writing a Kiss book or that you had written one. So where did that, how did you decide to do that?
Well, it's funny. The only other time I sort of attempted a Kiss book, and it's just kind of stored in my computer, is I thought, like, I would never want to do an autobiography. My life's boring. Mm-hmm. No one needs to hear about my life. But the fact of the matter is, I thought it was kind of cool how there are Kiss albums along all the phases. You know how Kiss has followed trends and stuff now and again, right? So there's Kiss albums all along the phases. So I thought, I'll write it in conjunction with that. But anyways, that got shelved. And my big nice U.S. publisher who does these beautiful designs and really nice coffee table books like this one kind of thing, right? They got back into music books, and this was their concept, this at 50 concept. So I did a Bowie at 75, and then so that he would have been 75 years of age. So the Bowie was 75 career highlights. Then I did AC/DC at 50, and now Kiss at 50. So the neat thing about this is there was a set concept. 50 partitioned little career milestones. They could be happy ones, sad ones, whatever. But so it's their idea. And I also like that it's not a particularly like interview intensive book. It's just literally
not at all.
Yeah, you've got to like write these, very high value sentences to fit everything in the word count. That was the hardest thing of this book is just literally staying within the word count almost, right? But yeah, so it's their concept, this at 50 concept, and they've got other ones where we've been doing like illustrated history. We've been doing the album by album books, which was, I think that was kind of a joint concept. But anyways, so that's how this came about. It's almost like a super long extended rock magazine article, right? It's a list, right? Yeah. It's kind of a list, but it's chronological. Right. So yeah, it was their thing, and it was just all I had to do was fall into it.
Do you have a favorite part of Kiss era? Because they've done so many different things.
Yeah, that's interesting. Era wise, it's funny, Nina. Like I'm expected to love the 70s. So the 70s era for these guys, I've never really thought about this, but I guess the 70s era for these guys is broken into two pieces, right? maybe even 3.
Mm-hmm.
Because you got the first 3 albums punctuated by Alive. Then it,
Yep.
it feels like Rock and Roll Over, Love Gun, and Alive 2 as an era. And then you get the kind of like wayward off into the well, I guess Unmasked is 1980. So I mean the last era might be just Dynasty, right? But if I was to sort of think about where I'd spend more time listening to Kiss these days, I suppose, or over the last 20 years, I'd say it is that 80s era. And not really Unmasked, but starting with Creatures and going up to Hot in the Shade, although I was never a big fan of Hot in the Shade and Crazy Nights. But I guess if I was to focus a little more, I'd say Creatures, Animalize, Asylum, that kind of era right in there. So I guess the first one starts with the makeup, but still it feels like it's part. Well, Lick It Up. Did I say Lick It Up?
Lick It Up. No, you didn't.
So, Creatures, Lick It Up, Animalize, Asylum. Those 4 together. That
okay.
Because I'm excited about that kind of like how they're getting in on the ground floor of hair metal.
Yes.
Just sort of starting up.
Yeah.
And they're big participators in it. They dress the most like a hair metal band can possibly dress, even though they're from the 70s. And they're putting out lots of albums, and they're basically pretty successful albums. They're gold and platinum and stuff. But that early era where it still feels a little bit like it's the Wild West of hair metal, where it's linked to the new wave of British heavy metal or traditional metal or 70s metal. I really like that there. So that Lick It Up, Animalize era is kind of exciting for me.
Yeah. And a different guitar player with Vinny is brought on a different, and Eric Carr brought on a totally different sound to Kiss.
Exactly. Yeah. They added that shred and that technicalness from the technicality from the drumming. I think it's Gene and Paul noticing that they got to step it up a little if they're going to compete with these new bands.
Yes. And although I loved the music from the Elder, I'm a big Kiss fan, but I'm kind of fallen out after the whole reunion and the Psycho Circus and the farewell tour. I kind of was done. Kiss Unplugged. I thought that was a tremendous.
Right. Yeah.
That was the best album, last album from Kiss. My favorite.
It's not a lot of people talk about that album, but you're right. It was.
Yeah.
They did one of the better unplugs, right? It's almost like they proved that they come from an old school songwriting world, right? So it was kind of almost like surprising to see that those songs translated onto acoustic so well, right?
Right. Yeah. Right. And I'm thinking about what you said about Kiss. I saw your I know you called it a rant. You said these are things I'd like to see from Kiss, and you were kind of mentioning the spoken words tour and this and that. And I like the idea of the album that has all their kind of throwaways that they didn't, that they didn't use.
Yeah.
There are a lot of them.
Yeah.
And it would be fairly easy for them to do that.
Yeah.
And they still sound good,
Yeah, that is another thing about, some of these bands from the 70s, not all, because, you take Rush, for example, they've got no unreleased music, right? But Kiss is a band a little bit like Aerosmith. If you go on YouTube and look up Aerosmith demos and unreleased songs, there's lots of them, right? So it's like, it proves that that there's some intention, even though they can make such a botch of an album like Psycho Circus. The point is there's an intention there to put those specific songs on the albums, because they do try out different things and experiment and stuff. So you're right. There's quite a bit of stuff. Yeah.
Fans were kind of upset that the former members didn't join them at Madison Square Garden several weeks ago. But their show is a lot different. It's all, it's programmed different. I don't want to.
That's the point. You're right, Nina. And that's what not a lot of people are bringing up about it, right? That's really the main reason, right?
Yes. They could have had, they could have had Peter come in to do Beth. That's the only way I think it would have worked. But then you'd have to have another one. But so I get why they did that. Although it would have been nice to kind of, give a toast to them, whether it was on the screen or something like that.
But Nina, you bring up a great point, because say you bring Peter on to do Beth, right? Do you really think he
Yeah.
could sit there with no accompaniment and sing that thing? So probably not. And probably even if he could,
Yeah.
it would be one of these situations where you'd go, oh, we better have a taped backup for it. So now all of a sudden,
Well, they
yeah, you got to
yeah,
go
they
do
need
that
one.
now, right? And so any of these guests to come on,
Yeah,
they got to
true.
retool their whole technology of the show just to have
Yes.
these guys on, right?
Yeah, and God forbid they screw up and do it wrong,
Exactly.
because they're so used to doing it a certain way. That would
Yeah.
really suck, especially for their last show.
Yeah.
I don't know about this whole AI thing. I'm not getting it. I don't understand it.
Yeah.
I don't want to understand it. I
Yeah.
want live people,
Yeah.
But I get it. If you want to go on, I would have loved to have seen them, I guess they don't, they've been doing this so long. They want it to be Gene and Paul, they don't want all these new people,
Yeah.
playing them, whatever.
Nina,
But
I
there's a lot
just
of good.
saw the other day, I just saw on TikTok, because I've been kind of following this whole AI music thing, right? And
Mm-hmm.
the other day, like just yesterday, I saw on TikTok something that really looked like an advancement to me. It was Slipknot doing a version of Metallica Master of Puppets. And so it's an AI generated, apparently. I don't know how it's done exactly, but it really sounded good. Like it sounded like a thoughtful way that Slipknot would do that. So it had, a dozen Slipknot tropes to the way things go. And there were different chords in it and all this stuff. And I thought, wow, that's really picking it up. So, they've got this Avatar thing. And I think after all the scathing negativity about it, they can either admit defeat and fold and then just never talk about it again, or they may step it up and really actually make it something with value and really throw some cutting edge AI at it. And all of a sudden, it turns everybody around and says, wow, this is really super amazing what they did. I don't know what that would be. Obviously, what they showed on the screen there was fairly ridiculous, and it didn't look like it was,
Yeah.
up to any kind of standard, right? But yeah, the sky's the limit with this AI thing. If they do it properly and find some neat thing to do with it, have basically like write all new Kiss songs or something, right? Using Gene's and Paul's voices.
Yeah.
Because that's what I said in that rant. I think the most important thing that these guys have still right now, and it will go in a matter of years, couple years, 3 years, is their voices, right? And that's why my advice to all these bands is sing the phone book. Just get out there and sing. I don't care what you sing covers, take every Aerosmith album and sing all the vocals along with it and have those tracks, and then one day swap them with Aerosmith, whatever, right? But use that voice to sing a bunch of stuff, or use that voice to maybe train AI to give a perfect version of those two voices, and then have AI write Kiss songs. To me, that's way cooler. If you're just gonna pipe in Kiss live music as the backdrop, why wouldn't you just go on YouTube and watch Kiss live videos
Exactly.
through all the years,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And also taking them as they look now. I mean, wouldn't you want them to look like they did in the 70s?
Yeah.
I mean,
Exactly. Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to be like that, but
Yeah.
if you're playing that kind of music, yeah, you should be younger. But I guess they can't do that with the AI. Maybe they can enhance them. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's been fun being a Kiss fan, and I can still like it and appreciate it, and But I'll watch the old shows. I'll watch the Midnight Special. I'll watch Paul Lynch show. Things like that.
Exactly. Yeah, and we touched upon that in the book, because Dennis wanted my editor over there. He's a good, thoughtful music guy too, and he's the guy who kind of puts together all the pictures and everything, and helps
it's
these
really
layouts
well done.
look really good. But he thinks in the mind frame too of these iconic TV performances are kind of milestones, right? Because that intersection of music and TV was exciting in the 70s when it would happen. It was an event, right? The Kiss movie, or Welcome to My Nightmare, Alice Cooper, whatever, Midnight Special, Kirshner, it's rock concert, right?
Yep.
So, we celebrate some of that stuff in there. But by the same token,
Absolutely.
Dennis is always funny. It's like, I come up with a milestone, and the odd one gets kicked out because he goes, I don't know if I can get pictures for that, right? A really good picture, and then there's Super Bowl, things in there as events and stuff as well. But yeah,
great stuff. Really great pictures. Because my favorite, well, I haven't lived with this long enough. I mean, I only got it a week ago,
right.
But this one.
Oh my God. Yeah. That is so cool. Lydia did an
I
amazing
love
job
this
with
book.
that. Yeah. I interviewed her for it when that came out 10 years ago or 15 years ago or whenever it was. Yeah. Yeah. She did an amazing job on that. I think every Kiss fan should have that book.
Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah. And she's got more than that. She's got, I heard it through the grapevine. She might have video. Like that would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
That would be very cool. But yeah, good for her for taking all those pictures, even in the lean days.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice. What's your favorite couple of Kiss albums?
Oh, well, I like the era I like of Kiss. Well, the first 3 albums are a little rough for me, although I love Dress to Kill.
Okay.
But Rock and Roll Over, that's when they started to kind of rise. And of course, I discovered them with Alive 2.
Okay.
My babysitter had a big party and left the album, the double album, in my basement.
Oh man!
And she left it there. So I was just like, hey, what the hell is this? And this is kind of crazy. It's kind of weird. I'm 7. I was born in 73.
Yeah.
So I was like 6, and it was just been wonderful. Then I got the Gene Simmons solo album, and it caught on. But
interesting.
The Elder kind of was a low point for me. It didn't seem very cool.
Yeah.
So then I got back into it, a little bit later, Lick It Up.
So your first one you got was the Gene Simmons solo album?
Yes. Well, yes, it was under the Christmas tree. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
And I thought it was, I thought it was so great. And it's probably not, but it's timeline, it's what I knew. Yeah. It's just, like I said, I went back in the catalog.
Have what were your other favorite bands, 78, 79? Because you're only, you're very young.
I was too young. Yeah. Olivia Newton-John, Rick Springfield, stuff like that, like Kitty stuff.
And Kiss.
But, and Kiss. Yeah. So it was always been about Kiss. So they're my heavy metal Beatles. I think Gene Simmons said that. Exactly. And it's been a good run for them for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. That's a really unique path. You never hear that one. That's a neat story.
Fans. There's not many female fans,
Yeah.
So I was always the lone wolf with my fandom for that, and it branched out into other things,
Yeah.
Other, Motley Crue and Guns N' Roses. See, I was a little younger than you, so there's a cutoff.
Yeah.
It's like you're into more Judas Priest, Iron Maiden, that British Invasion thing.
Yeah.
So
so 10 years old, hair metal starts, and you're there for it at 10. But 10 is still super young, right?
Yeah. It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we didn't get MTV till I was 13, and that's kind of when everything for me, 12, 13 was when I really got into it.
Yeah.
Thank God for Columbia House.
Yeah. So now it's 85, 86 at this point for you.
Yeah. So I'm getting,
lots of albums out. Yeah.
But Columbia House, they would send like Megadeth, and they would send some of the heavier stuff. So I was getting a taste of everything, the Vinnie Vincent Invasion, I got that one, and, all kinds of records were coming in, and it was wonderful.
Yeah.
Thankful
That's interesting. It's funny because we had, as a family, a brief dalliance with that Columbia House thing too. And I remember I would have been like 6 or 7 or 8 years old, because the first records I ever remember owning in the rock realm are Steppenwolf Gold, Creedence Clearwater Revival, Mardi Gras, and the it was either the first Three Dog Night Live album or the second Three Dog Night Live album. Like really weird choices, right? And it was because of Columbia House.
One more question for you. When you are not doing the music thing, what are your other passions? Just curious.
Well, art in a big way. I mean, I've always dabbled in art, and I almost kind of got even like going on it in the mid '90s, and then I put it aside because it was big and messy, and you know, the book stuff started picking up. But I've started drawing a lot of stuff again because it's not messy, and I haven't picked up the whole painting thing again. But yeah, martinpopoff.ca. I started doing all these basically pencil crayon on black stock pictures of rock stars. Plus I came up with like all these fake ads. And then I started doing these pencil drawings that I stuck in my, well, there's one at my layout guy right now, but these two Imaginos related Blue Oyster Cult books. So I did the illustrations for those. But you know, people keep bringing up, because at my site, I've got my actual old paintings from the '90s, and people keep bringing up, they want me to commission, and it's so much to get started again. But that's really what I want to do. You know, that whole Maslow's hierarchy of needs thing, you know?
Yeah.
Because right now I'm just kind of like, my whole life has been like writing about other people's accomplishments and their other people's art.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, you know, I obviously logically the next level up is to do your own art, right? So you want to do your own art at some point in life, right? So
yeah, that's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And you don't play an instrument though, right?
Yeah, I drummed in the '80s, and we had our one brief, you know, bar band. So I was quote unquote a professional for a brief time. We had a band called Torque, but it's all covers, right? So I drummed as a kid in the '70s, and we had our one little band in the early '80s. I think it was '84, and but other than that, you know, eventually that stuff goes into storage. You know, oddly enough, I really have no desire to be in a band and make original music, and I have no desire to write fiction books. To me, it's always just been you know, blinders on actual visual art. That's really what I want to do. So yeah, it's weird that I don't really fall into the writing books or making music thing, but
yeah, I like making videos. I'm just taking music, making music videos.
Oh wow.
And I don't know how I don't know how, you know, how that works as far as the copyright. I'm still trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
Because I've only been doing this YouTube thing about a year.
Yeah.
So,
well,
so far nothing.
I think on the legality end of it, you know, because people have been doing that, like just going and making their own videos to songs, right? So,
yeah,
you know, the legality is basically you don't have the rights to the music, so there's no way you can monetize it, right? But what could happen is that the band likes it and they take it over and they pay you something for it, or they say, Nina, do our next video for us. I loved what you did with this one, just completely on spec, right? So it's almost like it's a door in, right? And then the other funny thing about the legality of it is, if you remove the music, you have created a piece of art that you do have the rights to. Now, if you've used other people's photography in it and other people's live footage in it, you don't have the rights to that. You have to go get permissions for those things, right? But yeah, if you create a video out of thin air, you own all those visuals.
Right. And it's all for fun. I do you know, it's just like a hobby. It's kind of fun. It's like, well, I draw and I paint also, like you.
Nice. Yeah.
But it is creative.
It's a little bit like the old days when you know, people would design album covers on spec and just go to a band and say, what do you think of this? What do you think of this? And the band looks at them and goes, yeah, you're right. I like it. We'll take this one. The record company will pay you something for it or whatever. Maybe it wasn't a lot or whatever, but in nowadays that could be your step in the door for videos, right? A band sees what you do. They see you're a fan. They appreciate it. They like your aesthetic. Right. And then they'll just say, I remember when Nina did that great video, put a smile on my face for, you know, the weekend when I saw it the first time. Let's get her to do our next song. Let's have a formal arrangement with her now. And
well, I'm not that good.
Video. Yeah, but you know, you work on it. You could be, right.
Oh, good thing. And so again, thank you for coming to my Heavy Metal Kitchen. I usually do a cooking segment as well, as because that's what I like, is music and cooking.
Right.
So I kind
Nice.
of do a little tie-in with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I did some Kiss catalog where I would make things like Hotter Than Hell chili
Oh
and
yeah.
things like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I'd use the name because I'm noticing in your book you do that too with the chapters. They all have a different, a song name. Heaven's on Fire.
Yeah,
You
I just came up with that when I did Bowie at 75, and Dennis loved it. And then
for
basically
chapter.
it was expected after that. And it's fun to do. It's fun to like find, oh, what's
Yeah,
gonna
it is
go with
fun.
what, right? So I did
Yeah,
that in
yeah.
the AC/DC. I did it in the Bowie one. I've got a Van Halen one coming out next year that I did it for too. So
Oh, that'll be great.
yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah. Kiss the 50. Good
All
stuff.
right. Thanks very much.
I'll see you next time.
All right.
Take care.